With Zoom being the new room and Teams being one of the ways that we often communicate online in the corporate world, it can get easy to get lost and not be seen as the person that they should promote you. Today, my expert is Kellyanne Lawson, and we are going to get into the details on how you can show up with a magnetic presence online so that people recognize you and want to promote you in the corporation. Kellyanne, it is such a pleasure to have you.
Oh, Nancy, it's so nice to be here. It's exciting to speak about this because I think it is so important. So thank you.
So, Kellyanne, as you think about this and you start to see more and more people in the corporate world being online, what are some of the things that kind of pop up and you think they need to be doing this a little bit better?
So I think it really all starts, Nancy, with priming to align yourself. So what does that mean? It means more or less that you know what you're looking for. If it is such you want to get a promotion, you need to align yourself with what it is that you want, that promotion that you want, how you're going to get it, the steps you're going to take, whether that's that growth pattern and growth plan, and put it into action with which really means everything. It's from your online presence, the way that your energy is online, your background, like my background, the way that you look, how you're presenting yourself in a physical manner. All of these are indicators to your employer whether or not they want to hire you or not.
Yeah. And so often nowadays, people are actually doing a lot of their interviews over Zoom, over Teams, and these different meeting perspectives. And so, one of the first things that I heard you talk about was your background. Let's dive into the background just for a few minutes to talk about how do you make a pleasing background? What are some of the things that they can do?
So, what you really want to do is focus on simplicity. You don't want, again, if someone's interviewing you and they see clutter, that just is an indicator of what you're going to be presenting to that company. So, you want to keep it simple. You want to have symmetry. You want to make sure that it looks fresh and inviting. And you want to make it look attractive depending on what it is, the job that you're going for. You want to, in every aspect, have the person engaged in not only the way you look, but your background as well. It cannot be distracting. So don't have a lot of different elements. Keep it simple. You do not want them to focus on what it is that's in your background. You want them to be focused on you. So basically, that's it.
Yeah, that's a brilliant actually way of saying it. You don't want anything distracting that takes them away from being intentional with the conversation with you.
Absolutely.
So the second thing you said in there was energy. You talk about the importance of the energy, and we're going to dive deeper with another conversation with another expert on energy. But tell me about how energy plays in online presence.
So a quick little story is actually, I know a girl who is an engineer and she meets with her team weekly. And she called me up the other day and said, you know what? I'm kind of like sad today because we lost one of our game players in our team who brings so much energy. And I said, you're kidding. How's everyone else? They said, well, they get the work done, but the energy is just low. So, right there, I'm trying to say that what you bring is going to create an atmosphere within that team. And it's going to be more productive if you're bringing intentionally an energy, up leveling yourself. And you could do that with your intonation, your inflection, telling a story to start the day, having little games just to get and build up that energy so that it's not a humdrum hour or whatever your team meeting is. You need to have that.
So true. And it's so easy. I sit with some engineering clients in Texas and LA. And some of those meetings can go on for so long and you can get so distracted and so pulled out of them. But if more people had energy, had brought the energy like they were sitting in the room,
that's right,
it would really make a huge difference. Now, one of the things that I see, and I'd love your insight into this, is too many meetings where the cameras are off. And so there's no camera, there's no image of that person. From a communication standpoint, and somebody who's an expert in this area, what does that do to the rest of the people in the room? What's your thoughts?
So that's a really great question, because I hear it from a lot of people that are participating or they're hosting a meeting. And I mean, it's like anything. Are you showing up? And even if you're trying to get that job, you need to show up, all of you, not just off screen. You could be the greatest person on paper. No one's going to know it unless you have your camera open. It brings a whole dimension, another dimension to the conversation. So you definitely want to show up. You want to have your background, your lighting. You want to look a certain way, however you want to be perceived. And you turn on that camera and it's going to elevate everyone in the room. The presence, the energy, the magnetism, the attraction of everyone just up levels.
Yeah. And one of the things you talked about was lighting. Like you can go to like Best Buy, you can buy it off of Amazon. There are lots of ways to get simple little ring lights that will just at least give some light onto your face and set you up for success. When you think about being able to have a conversation or being able to input ideas into a meeting, how do you show up to get the attention to be able to speak?
Right. So I like to, when I'm listening to people, I always like to have some sort of comment, some words that I can actually influence that conversation, whatever it may be, even to reiterate that I've been actively listening. So you don't want to stay silent because you'll fade in the background. So you don't want to be a fader. You want to be intentionally present. And how you do that is you comment, you remark, you give insight, or you give an indicator of something that you have experienced that possibly could help with that situation that currently is being discussed. So there's all kinds of ways, but the most important is at least saying something.
Yes, it's so true. That ability to say something, to give some feedback and insight without droning on and without like stealing the show. That's also interesting. Kelly, one of your big areas of expertise is around how you look, like your visual presence on stage. And one of the things that I would love to just talk about is, let's talk about women first, and then we'll segue into men, because there is some slight differences. But one of the things that I often hear of people on camera is, or behind in remote meetings, is like, I'm still in my pajamas or I'm still in my sweatpants. And I'm curious, what are your thoughts about how to show up and how to look the part?
So I think it's a lot of, and I love this question, Nancy, because, this is something that I've done for over 35 years. So, the way you show up one way is the way you show up in every aspect of your life. So, I mean, if you were going into work, you don't show up in pajamas, obviously. And, when you do put on your relaxing clothes or your pajamas, it is such as that. It's to relax, to calm down, to unwind. It's a whole different energy. You want to be on. You want to be seen. You want to show up with your best foot forward. How do you do that? You dress the part. You have colors that are captivating. You put on something that you feel confident in so that you can address people the best version of yourself. And you can only do that if you're actually wearing the clothing that is necessary for you to feel the way that you want to feel to show your best self.
This is so important, regardless of whether you're on camera or in the office. My husband used to be like, Nancy, you got to dress for the part that you want. And I used to be like, oh my gosh, I am not the girly girl. But now I wear dresses all the time, even at home, even when the camera is off. Because for me, dressing the part, I feel the energy. I feel like I am in that right position. And so, as somebody who spent a lot of time in this area, tell me, maybe I'm going to diverge here for a second, but can you give me an example of somebody who would come to you, you would help them with their wardrobe, their makeup, and how did they feel after? How did that impact their energy, their showing up versus beforehand in that process?
So, again, another great question, because I have noticed through the years that the people that really have exceptionally accelerated in that area are people that were, example, like myself years ago, a couple of decades ago, more an athlete or someone really focused on what it is that they do. They believe that that is their everything, and they lose sight of the fact that people are actually judging them on the way that they look. Yes. And in the online world, and even in person, the first 7 seconds are the most crucial, because that is when people have already decided and made up their mind. And I know I do. We all do, even if it's unconsciously. We have decided, do we want to work with this person or we do not? And that's where dressing the part, I've noticed that the people that didn't even realize, and someone has told them and has said, like, hey, Nancy, you know, you're great at, say, engineering, but maybe this is something you need to focus in on. I've had clients that have come to me. They needed that focus and awareness. We've gone in to look at wardrobe, coloring, background, imaging, everything, and what they even their energy that they bring to the screen. Is it captivating? Is it engaging? Is it conversational? All of these elements they didn't know they didn't have. They were just focused on what they're great at. And as a result, working with me, they've seen, and now they have that full 360. They did a 180, and now they have it all going on, and they couldn't be happier. And I've seen the results. So
that's incredible, because the reality is only 25% of your ability to get promoted is related to your brilliance and hard work. The other 75% are around how you show up, how you communicate, that presence that you have. And the higher up the ladder, we want to work for people who have that great presence. Kelly, is there one last thought or one last piece of information that you would like to share with people about their presence visually so that they can show up and get promoted in the corporate world?
You know what I would say, Nancy, probably most importantly is don't underestimate. Don't think, hey, it's all about, I don't want to really think about how I look. It's the inside that counts. It's what I know that counts. Don't convince yourself of that, because it is not true. So as much as we don't want to face the reality is that you do need to show up looking a certain way, being a certain way, and giving and making people on the other side feeling a certain way. If you can do that, then you are on your way to getting that promotion, that better job, whatever it is that you want. And that's what I would say.
Kelly, that's a great way for us to end this and end this conversation. You have the opportunity to show up as the person that you want to impact. And so this is your opportunity to shine, to turn on the camera, and to show up with this presence online that makes you stand out. Because trust me, 90% of the people are not showing up in their meetings online ready to go. And so be that one person, be that person who's like, I'm going to move up. So Kellyanne, if somebody is looking to reach out and learn more about what you do and potentially work with you, I know you've got a really cool free offer. Can you share that with us?
So, yes, Nancy, I'm excited for it and I can't wait to give it to your audience. So, yes, it is the first impression assessment call.
Oh my gosh. And first impressions are the thing that we need, especially when you're going for an interview, because that's your first opportunity to show up and be seen.
You have that. That is absolutely right.
Kellyanne, it has been such a pleasure to work with you today, to have a conversation about how you can show up. And I think anybody who is going for an interview, who's trying to meet somebody higher up the corporate ladder, signing up to get a first impression assessment call is one of the keys to your success. Thank you, Kellyanne.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much, Nancy. It was a pleasure.
And remember, you're only one strategy away from your next promotion.